feeling in itself is a little bit, anticlimactic just on its own. And plus, we know that Wolverine has a tragic ending in this movie. That's a given. He's going to lose his memory. That's how he becomes the Wolverine that we see in the first X-Men movie. You know that going in. You anticipate it. But even so, it still feels it still makes you feel bad in the end. It still is sad, because you still feel sad about it, because you did just see everything happen. You did just watch the entire movie. And then it feels, it's not a movie that pumps you up. It definitely is not. It does not, you don't feel good after watching it. At least I didn't. Fly. Anyway, just a fly buzzing around over here. Anyway, that's one of the things that I really felt. And I know that it was inevitable, and I anticipated it going in, but still, I couldn't help but feel kind of, sad at the end. It's not let down kind of sad. It's something that I was preparing myself for, but still, it's not an ending that leaves you feeling great. It's not an ending that leaves you feeling pumped, or even, leaves you feeling like you can't wait to see the sequel. It's different than that. And that's the problem with origin stories, because it's always most likely gonna be tragic at the end. But not only that, for Wolverine in particular, this character specifically, he loses his memory at the end, so it kinda is almost like the entire movie didn't matter. I mean, it mattered, but it didn't really matter to Logan. It's not gonna matter for him for a long time. He's never getting that memory back. He only gets glimpses and pieces of it throughout his, throughout the whole next 3 movies, which are the 3 movies that we've already seen. And much as I enjoyed the various booty shots, which I must admit, I thoroughly enjoyed it, this movie just doesn't leave you with that good feeling. It leaves you kind of with a sinking, depressing feeling. That is one thing that I got from it. Even though, like I said before, I went in knowing I would feel this way, I still couldn't help but feel that way, and it bothered me, because I was mentally preparing myself for the ending, and that's not a good thing when you're watching a movie. It's not fun to have to do that. But for this movie, you can't help but do that. But having said that, it's not like I didn't have fun during the movie. It's not like I didn't find it entertaining, because it was fun. And there were parts where I was thoroughly entertained. And there were some good action sequences, even though that last battle felt a little bit anticlimactic. Just a little bit. I was expecting a little bit something more than that, maybe. But still, for what it's worth, I had fun. I really, really liked Ryan Reynolds as Wade Wilson, even though his part was pretty much a cameo. They really shouldn't have promoted it as much as they did, because I was hoping for a little bit more. But for the little that we got to see of him, it really did whet everyone's appetite, I think, for a Deadpool movie. Even though they almost killed that possibility at the end, and depending on which version you saw, they either did or didn't for you. But, and that's the other big problem, was the, they call him Weapon 11. What the hell is that? I mean, it was, this movie had plenty of quote-unquote villains, if you will, plenty of people that Wolverine could go up against. There's Sabretooth, Victor, which they call him, and there's, General, what's his name, Stryker. Did they really need to create a Weapon 11 solely for the purpose of giving him one last fight in the end? Someone with a bunch of mutant powers for the sake of having those powers? Pretty much BS story that they made up. And almost destroyed Deadpool along the way. Did they really have to do that? I thought that was unnecessary. And I thought that was superfluous, and just the entire character, whatever that was, didn't need to be there. I thought they could have handled it and handled the ending of this entire story a lot better. That I did have a problem with. I did not like the idea of this Weapon 11. I think that seemed pretty forced to me. But, and also, I know some people are saying that Sabretooth isn't actually Wolverine's brother in the comics, and if you've ever read Origin, they lead you to believe that this character named Dog, who is the kid from Wolverine's past, from, well, James Howlett, he did have, there was another kid who was older than him.
Who was a half-brother.
Who was a half-brother, who was the son of the lower-class man who turned out to be his brother, Jimmy's brother. But you are led to believe that that kid named Dog is Sabretooth, or will grow up to be Sabretooth, but turns out he's not. It's not him. But I guess, although I did think while I was reading Origin that it would be kind of cool if that was Sabretooth, so they actually went with it this time in the movie, and that's one of the things that they changed, and I actually have no problems with that. I like the idea that Sabretooth and Wolverine are brothers in the movie world, because I thought that might have been pretty cool if they did that for the comics, so I'm fine with that change.
Yeah, he did look like Sabretooth in the book when he was revealed toward the end. He came in, Dog. I thought he was going to turn out to be him.
Yeah,
honestly,
everybody
but,
thought, I think, yeah.
Apparently not. Apparently
Which
Victor
I thought,
Creed
oh,
is
that's
not
so
him.
cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. You know, I thought, oh, they have such a history, and turns out they're half brothers and they don't know it, you know. But that wasn't the case, which seemed like a wasted opportunity to me. But see, that's the thing about Wolverine. That's almost a frustrating thing, was that even if all of this happens, even if Sabretooth in the comics turned out to be his brother anyway, it really wouldn't matter because he'd never know.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing about Wolverine that's almost frustrating, where it's like he has a great origin story, which will never matter because he's not going to remember.
Although in the comics, apparently, I think it's still there. It still holds true that all of his memories have been restored. At least that were after the House of M.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, I don't know if it's changed now, but last I saw, he still was.
So there's that. But that's never going to happen in the movies. The franchise itself is done, and well, it's a great history. It's just not going to matter, which is why it'd be better if I saw Magneto's history. At least I know that's what influenced and motivates his character for the 3 movies that he was in. Here in Ring, the ending wipes the slate clean. It's like, well, it doesn't matter. We know where he goes on from here. We know where he ended up. We know what happened to him, and it's a good origin story. It just doesn't matter.
I think I just want to clarify something. I said earlier. I did enjoy. I had a good time. I had a fun time watching the movie. I know I may have said, that I thought it was just kind of eh, but I was able to, still get into it. I mean, it's a Wolverine. It's Hugh Jackman. I was still able to enjoy it. I just didn't, I didn't really feel myself having as much fun as I've had at some of these other ones.
I had fun.
And, well, I'm glad you did, but
I
wish I had more fun.
I thoroughly enjoyed Hugh Jackman.
But are you
kidding?
You're seriously going to say you enjoyed this as much as X2? I mean,
no,
seriously,
of course not. Of course not.
I mean, you can have fun with it. That's fine, but it's nowhere near as fun as I think it could be or it should be. And I think that, and there's a lot of stuff, like I said, a lot of, cliches that come out. I never really felt that much of a connection as I wished I could have. More enjoyable than 3? I don't know. It's more depressing than 3. So it's kind of like, how fun, so it's like, so it depends on like, where you're going to go with that.
When I meant I enjoyed it, I said maybe I enjoyed it more than you. I'm just saying, and I fully admit this. I know some women don't want to admit this.
3 was depressing for a different reason.
Don't like admitting it, but I fully admit this. I enjoyed watching Hugh Jackman. That, itself is, it could make the movie for me. I mean, it's not something, I admit it's a guilty pleasure. I am admitting it. It's fun to see Hugh Jackman. He's a good-looking man. Come on.
I had a couple of cringe moments in there a little bit, I guess, like I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to go off. I know I mentioned in Wolverine versus Batman the video about, we made a joke about, Will.I.am being in there. And I never meant that at Will.I.am's expense. I mean, if he can get in a movie, he's worked hard to get where he is, then good for him. That's absolutely. I'm not,
He's a likable guy, too. And it was a likable character.
He's likable in the movie, but to me, it was fairly obvious that he was new to this. And,